Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're getting into something I think, well, a lot of us feel, but maybe don't talk about much. People pleasing. It's more than just being polite, isn't it? It's that tendency some cultures even encourage always agreeing, always saying yes, even when honestly it feels like it's just emptying you out inside. So, our mission today is to really unpack that journey, from constantly putting others first to hopefully finding a way back to genuine self-care. We're using a really powerful personal account from our source material today, and I suspect parts of it will feel very familiar to many of you listening.
Oh, absolutely. What strikes me about this source is how raw it is. It's not theory, it's someone's actual lived experience. And that's why it connects, I think. It taps into those really universal struggles we all face, that internal conflict, the search for, well, for being authentic, really.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start there. The source describes this feeling of being available for everyone, always. You know that feeling, like always putting on a smile, always the yes person, even when, as they put it, you're completely crumbling inside, just feeling shattered.
hmm And it's tricky, isn't it? Because people-pleasing often looks like really positive things on the surface. We
Mm.
call it kindness or being helpful. Oh, they're so positive. But what the source highlights is that underneath, it can actually be about suppressing one's own existence,
Mhm.
hiding your real self away. It's almost a kind of betrayal, prioritizing how others see you over how you actually feel.
That makes sense. And it makes you wonder, where does that even start? How does it get so ingrained? Our source talks about it becoming part of upbringing, learning really young that, okay, if everyone else is happy, then I am safe.
hmm
So it starts almost like a survival strategy.
Precisely. And psychologically, that early conditioning,
Wow.
well, it creates this huge internal weight later on. There's this deep-seated guilt that crops up even thinking about saying no or, gosh, potentially disappointing someone. It's not just surface level. It can become this distorted belief where saying no feels like you're being bad or unlovable somehow, which then fuels that drive to always be the good child,
Yeah.
even long after you've grown up, always looking outside for that validation.
Which brings us to, well, a real turning point in the story we're looking at. It shows how the breaking point often isn't some huge dramatic event, is it? It's usually smaller, cumulative, the final straw, kind of. For the person in our source, it was just agreeing to do a small favor for a friend, but they were already completely emotionally drained. Just
Yeah.
one little thing, but on that day, yeah, it was too much. And the aftermath they describe really shows the impact. Sitting alone later, tears just coming without any reason. But then, that moment of clarity, realizing the real reason was self-betrayal. Again, like they let themselves down by ignoring what they needed.
Right. And these feelings, the guilt, the resentment, they're invisible, aren't they?
Yeah.
You can't point to them. But like the source says, they eat away at you from within,
Slowly,
quietly, just eroding your sense of self until, bang, you hit a wall.
And that question that came up for them in that low moment,
Mhm.
wow, if you don't stand up for yourself, what are you living for?
Yeah.
That sounds like a real wake-up call. So how did they even begin to turn that realization into action? Well, breaking free, our source talks about the sheer effort it took to say it the first time. Just,
Wow.
I'm really sorry, I can't. Can you imagine? That fear, expecting, like they said, the world to break, the anxiety about how the other person would react. It must have felt huge.
And then the big reveal. They said, no, and nothing happened. The world didn't end. The friendship didn't implode. But something did happen internally. That feeling of being alive for the first time.
Hmm. Just asserting that boundary and realizing the catastrophe they feared didn't happen. That's incredibly validating, isn't it? It confirms your own worth in a way. Yeah, and it makes you think about society's role in this. We are taught often that being nice is necessary, it's important. But, and this is the crucial bit our source points out, no one teaches us that being nice at the cost of your soul is actually dangerous.
Yeah.
It really highlights a gap, doesn't it, in how we value agreeableness over genuine well-being.
It really does. And then you throw in modern pressures. Social media, for instance, has arguably made this even more complex.
Hmm.
You see everyone else projecting this fake smile and perfect image, right? And that just amplifies the fear of rejection, the fear of judgment. It pushes people further into being inauthentic.
Mhm.
And it creates this expectation of constant emotional availability, this idea that if you are not available for everyone, then you are rude.
Mm.
That's a real trap. Confusing needing space with their being selfish.
Mhm. But the key lesson here, the source really stresses this, is that taking space for oneself is not rude. Actually, it is necessary. It's fundamental. Recognizing that boundaries aren't selfish, they're essential for self-care, for keeping yourself intact emotionally.
Exactly. And that changes everything. Boundaries become my responsibility, your own responsibility to uphold. It's like making a promise to yourself to respect your own needs. And then saying no stops feeling like guilt and starts feeling like peace. Sukoon, as the source puts it, that's the real transformation, isn't it? Moving from that internal battle to a sense of calm.
It's quite moving when the source looks back at their past self, the people pleaser, seeing that younger version and thinking, that child only wanted love and approval. They bore their share of pain so others could be happy. There's a real tenderness there, understanding the why behind it all.
Yes, and that reflection is so important for healing. It allows for that moment where you can almost speak to that past self and say, okay, your work is done, I'll take over now.
Yeah.
It's about compassion, but also about taking back control, taking responsibility for your own happiness now.
So for everyone listening, if any of this resonates, if you find yourself constantly trying to make everyone else happy, maybe forgetting yourself in the process,
Yeah.
there's a clear message here.
Yeah, the advice really boils down to this. Learn to take care of your soul. It sounds simple, maybe, but it's profound. Because, as the source says, smiling for others is easy, but standing up for yourself is very difficult. That's the challenge. But that is true victory. Finding that strength, finding that inner peace, that's where the real win is.
And hold on to this quote from the source. It's quite powerful. Those who get angry at your no never deserved your yes. That really puts things in perspective, doesn't it? It helps you see which relationships are built on respect and which ones maybe aren't.
So maybe try this. Before the next time you automatically say yes, just pause. Ask yourself, am I saying this from my heart or just to please someone? Just that small pause, that question, it can be a really powerful way to start reclaiming your authenticity.
Because at the end of the day, the real you is the most beautiful. So maybe just think about this as you go on with your day. When was the last time you really truly chose yourself? And perhaps after this conversation, you might feel inspired to do it a little more often.
And if this story felt a little too familiar,
maybe you're also learning to say no when your heart says so. Or maybe you're just beginning to find your own voice. Either way, you're not alone. Let me know in the comments, have you ever chosen yourself over pleasing others? And if this episode touched you, don't forget to subscribe, share it with someone who's still learning to honor themselves, and come back next week because we're healing, one truth at a time. This was Life Reviews by Rouhi. Until next time, take care of you.